Yeah, stay prepared for the up and downs. Life is like a seesaw. Some say it's a bitch, man.
What's going on, guys? Just another critic here, finishing up our Week 5 predictions. Matchup I'm going to be talking about here is K-State taking on Oklahoma State Cowboys. Kansas State Wildcats 3-0 right now. Oklahoma State 3-1, coming off a loss against Texas, which was probably a game they really could have won if they could have put together some better possessions in the red zone. They drove it down, just couldn't finish. But anyway, like I said, Kansas State 3-0, Oklahoma State 3-1. K-State 3-0 against the spread for you bettors out there. Oklahoma State 4-0 against the spread. As far as how these teams are looking statistically, let's have a look at K-State. Averaging 44 points per game on offense, allowing 12 points per game on defense, putting up 174 yards through the air a game, 280 yards a game on the ground, allowing just 118 yards per game through the air. That is a phenomenal number. Of course, they haven't seen the greatest of competition. They did see Mississippi State, which they allowed, I believe it was, I have it right here. It's 151 yards they allowed to Mississippi State, which is still trying to figure out who their quarterback is going to be. But they also allowed 201 yards on the ground in that game versus Mississippi State. So let's have a look and continue looking at those stats. Overall, allowing 137 yards per game on the ground, and the turnover differential is at negative 0.67. So, not necessarily turning the ball over, but they're not getting a lot of takeaways. Let's look at Oklahoma State statistically, putting up 44 points per game, allowing roughly 27 points per game, putting up 263 yards through the air, and 270 yards on the ground per game. So 263 through the air, 270 on the ground per game. Pretty balanced attack. As we already know, if you listen to my podcast episodes in preseason, Oklahoma State was one of my sleeper picks to win the Big 12 championship. But I did not see this K-State team coming out from left field, and they're looking really good. I've watched them play. I like what they got up front with the O-line. But before we jump into that, let's finish up this OK State stats. They're allowing 239 through the air, pretty much 240, allowing 175 per game on the ground. So, as we already know, man, it's Oklahoma State. They just haven't figured it out on defense. As we already know, they're just high-flying, explosive play type team who's going to try and outscore you because they know the defense isn't exactly the most consistent or dependable. So this matchup, you guys might be surprised with who I'm going to have to go with in this one. But let's have a look, right? K-State, pretty much statistically showing that they're going to run the ball. They're going to try and pretty much play some smash mouth football with you and win at the line of scrimmage and pretty much run the ball down your throat. So far this year, they've been run heavy. 360 yards in their opener against Nicholls State, 333 against Bowling Green, and then they did get a bit stifled against Mississippi State, only going for about 150 yards on the ground. The passing game isn't really something that they do on a consistent basis. 212 versus Nicholls State, 188 versus Bowling Green, and then that dropped off again once they went up against Mississippi State. They went for 123. Now let's talk about Oklahoma State very quickly. Redshirt freshman quarterback Spencer Sanders, kid's a beast, dual threat guy. He's really dangerous if you can't contain him. And I'm not sure if Kansas State will have the speed to contain this guy. They were playing a very different team last year at Oklahoma State when they I forget the kid's name, but he wasn't much of a scrambler, right? The quarterback that they had at Oklahoma State. This year, this dude Spencer Sanders, very athletic. He's got a big arm. If he can clean up his passing game and really just clean up his technique, he's gonna be a problem in the Big 12 for years to come. And obviously we know what they got at the skilled positions at running back, Chuba Hubbard, who's pretty much He's at the top of the list right now as far as running backs go in rushing touchdowns and rushing yards. And then out at wide receiver, they've got another dude, Tylan Wallace. Pretty sure he's right up there in the top 5 for reception yards and reception touchdowns. The dude is just a touchdown. You just throw it up to him. He doesn't look like the biggest, most physical wide receiver, but he goes up and wins balls in the air. It's ridiculous. Probably one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in college football. Obviously, there's the Jerry Judys and the Justin Rosses, and he's right up there with those guys. On defense, though, like I said, it's just not really consistent. We saw them against Oregon State. Oregon State was even putting up numbers against them. So the defense is always going to be the question mark. And coming into this game, I think Kansas State clearly has the better defense, allowing just 120 yards through the air and roughly 140 on the ground. And so I do think they're gonna stifle this Oklahoma State running game. I think they're going to slow them down. Do I think they're going to completely stop them? No. I think Chuba Hubbard's going to break a few here and there. Obviously, there's going to be those explosive plays, but I think overall they're going to do a good job in limiting those drives, right, where he's getting 7, 6, 8, 5, right? I think it's going to be more like 3s, 5s, 2s, 4s. As far as in that rushing game, I think Oklahoma State's going to have to depend heavily in the pass attack, which Kansas State has shown that they can defend. Now, can they defend it against a more explosive offense against Oklahoma State? We're going to find out, right? It's only week 5. We still got more question marks than answers for most of the teams that we're talking about. And with K-State, last year in this matchup, K-State beat this Oklahoma State team up. Final score was 31-12. And as far as the head-to-head goes, Kansas State is on a two-game win streak in the head-to-head. And last year, like I said, they beat them up. They held them to 12 points. And Oklahoma State practically had the same skilled guys with Chuba Hubbard and Tylan Wallace, but just a different quarterback. So I do think Spencer Sanders is going to bring a different aspect in his ability to leave the pocket. He's very athletic. He's got great straight line speed, and he's very elusive. So I think he's going to make a big difference in the way this game plays out. I am very confident in this Kansas State football team, though. Just the way that I've seen them so far. Take away the Bowling Green and the Nicholls State game, they looked really good against Mississippi State. I know the stats don't show it, but I think they did a good job overall. I like the push that they're getting up front from their O-line, and their running backs look pretty good. Their running back has looked pretty good. And as I continue to touch on, Oklahoma State defense is pretty much hasn't really been there consistently enough to say that I think they have a good chance at putting out a good showing versus Kansas State. And so K-State, I like what I'm seeing from them, averaging 280 on the ground. I think they're going to continue to go to that, try and make it one of those ugly games, right? Hold on to the ball, time of possession, limit the amount of time that Oklahoma State has the ball. But the thing is, Oklahoma State just needs one play, right? With those guys at the skilled positions, they just need one play to go out there and, go for 80 yards, go for 70 yards, and score a touchdown. So if Kansas State's going to play this, gritty game, they got to lock up on defense because they've got to finish drives as well. They can hold on to the ball for 8-minute drives and take it down into the red zone, but they got to finish drives and get touchdowns. Because we're not 100% sure if they're going to be able to stop this Oklahoma State offense. Like we said, they've looked good. They've looked great statistically. Now we got to see them put it out on the field against pretty much the best competition they've seen in 2019 up to this point. More specifically on offense. Defensively, obviously going to be not exactly the best defense they're going to see this year. So I like what I'm seeing. This is going to be a fun matchup. But right now at this point, obviously Kansas State just broke into the top 25. They're ranked 24 at the moment. I just like these gritty type teams. K-State, right? They're just going to pound it down your throat. They're going to run the ball. They're going to try and do their best to limit big plays against this Oklahoma State team. I think they'll do enough. As much as I want Oklahoma State to win this game and to, get a rematch versus Texas in the Big 12 championship and make my predictions come right, I just don't think that's going to be the case. I didn't see this K-State team stepping up this year, but they just came out of left field and they're doing their thing. I think this game's it could go either way, but if K-State plays their cards right and they're able to limit those big plays, even they can give up those big plays, just limit Oklahoma State in the red zone, play solid red zone defense, force them to kick field goals. I think K-State will win this game. Right now, my final score, I have K-State beating Oklahoma State 33-27. Once again, final score, Kansas State 33, Oklahoma State 27. Really like this matchup. Like I said, it could go either way. The X factor will be Spencer Sanders, and we'll see what he can do come Saturday. With that being said, guys, I'll be doing one more prediction. It's pretty much my upset alerts and notable matchups that I'll be talking about very quickly. But yeah, with that being said, we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Yeah, stay prepared for the up and downs. Life is like a seesaw. Some say it's a bitch, man. I couldn't agree more. 1 minute you're on top, then you're in the